In Article 21, subsection 3, it states, "The will of the people shall be the basis of the authority of government." And that is precisely why we are here, why we are meeting here today. There are so many laws crafted for so many vested interests, that unfortunately redounded to the suffering, the downgrading of the living standards of the vast majority of our populace. That is why we do need a focus. A focus that all legislation should be beneficial to all people or all our peoples, preferably all of the time. That has to be the overarching concern, that has to be the overriding theme. And that is why there is a need for this particular session or session days that you will be spending in Subic. I'm sure you will have some leisure time there. Hopefully you'll just remember us when you're there. And in that process, you will be actually the active agents in attaining that betterment of our people's lot by primarily doing your function to be that legislative liaison that will get all of our legislators fully on board, fully supportive, and have that idea of a unified populace or unified government structure headed towards the betterment of our people's lives.
Definitely be an equivalent training to, especially for legislative liaison officers, yung required training natin.
You have to group yourselves by cluster.
In a state of nature, people basically wish to protect their interests.
How COA sees itself in terms of the constitutional definition of its mandate.
All others without due process, the taking out of life is already a violation of this. That even right, natural right, or even constitutional right.
Diba? Whether the child consent niya eh. Kahit pumayag siya. Statutory rape ito eh. You are raping the law.
Because in the human rights lens, dalawa lang po ng klase ng tao ang nakikita po natin. Yung po yung may hawak ng karapatan at yung po may hawak ng obligasyon.
Ang issue ngayon, paano natin i-approach yung problema? Ano ang konteksto ng problema?
You, as Department Stabilization Officers, have to be very proactive.
Dapat palagi natin isa-isip na hindi tayo legislature. any legislative or policy analyst must understand that we are analysts.
Because at the end, we wanted the policies of TECA to shine. So what did we do? We ran the NDP.
Actually, no one policy will have the same dynamic in terms of how the decisions will be made.
Ito lang ang katanungan ko kasi kung gusto natin yung ilipat itong mga low points dito sa strong points, hindi kaya yan maging source of corruption to serve one's interest na kunyari ayaw pero pag sinukulay naman pupunaan.
If you know this, then probably there are also others within that group who are doing that math that will look out for these kinds of things happening. I am just hopeful. I'm not saying gagawin na nila.
Marami pong salamat and here is your feedback.
Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat po sa inyong active participation dahil sa inyong kasipagan. Meron po kaming mga inanda para sa bawat isa po sa inyo kayo. From one of you here will become the next congressman or senator of this country.
Furthermore, the administration's commitment to human rights represents a continuing break in the past.
We have a common mission, communication and engagement, and we have common stakeholders.
The most visible thing that I see, although it is not mentioned, is the people's right to clean government, people's right to accountable government.
Let's work together so that we can make sure that the legislative agenda of the President will come out.
So you really help us, and in a manner of speaking, you manifested that very clearly, because you share what makes you congressman. You share these minds.
To Senator Franklin M. Relon.
We LLOs is to be able to push the agenda of the president.
You have to be familiar with the legislative process because you won't be able to employ the appropriate intervention if you're not familiar with the process.
In conclusion, let me again laud the efforts of the country to integrate human rights objectives and standards in government's development objectives. HRB mainstreaming puts in place a much-needed public policies, programs and resources that will have incremental effect not only in achieving the MDGs, but also in progressively improving step-by-step the human rights situation in the country. So again, thank you all very, very much. Thanks, Ezra, for your leadership on this.
To recap yesterday's events, August 12, 2011 marked day 3 of the Learning Workshop on Legislative Process.
Necessarily, we have to fulfill what we need.
The best effect is you, the agency and the departments and other stakeholders lobbying with the senators.
It was a great learning opportunity for us as government workers, legislative advocacy and liaison.
Marami sa inyo na experience sa akin. I just want to express and tell you, let you know na naintindihan ko yung nitty-gritty, naintindihan ko yung how it works on the ground, and naintindihan ko higit sa lahat yung how it feels to be on the ground na kulang ka ng support or wala kang support at all. So therefore, I can assure you na ang galing tayo ng magkasuportahan. Marami po akong pondo sa OP, you just let me know kung anong kailangan. At the end of the day, the way you do your jobs affects the child who has to walk barefoot to class every day. It affects the father who has to work 3 jobs to raise 5 children. It affects the ailing grandmother whose family cannot afford decent health care. They are depending on us to win back their hopes and aspirations. They are depending on us to allow them to achieve their greatest potentials. Let us not let them down. Failure definitely is not an option. Thank you.